Hello students, today we will start with our next topic of evidences of evolution that is very interesting, that is paleontological evidence. What is meant by paleontology? Paleontology means the study of past life, based on fossil records. Okay, so the study of past life means what? The millions of years ago which organisms were existed, that study is known as paleontology. So how we can find the organisms of that time? They are fossils. They are known as fossils. The remains of dead and decaying organisms is known as fossils. Okay, so you will ask me the question that how are fossils formed? So there is an interesting example I have. So I will tell you that example. Millions of years ago, what happened? There was a sea. Okay, and in that sea there was a invertebrate population. Okay, so what are invertebrate examples? Snails, starfishes, fishes, and like this, these type of organisms were present, and these organisms naturally died and get buried into the seabed. Okay, and then slowly the chemical reaction took place and the rock was formed. Okay, so after that many of the population which were not dead, which were alive, they lived by natural selection and they developed the new kind of species which were called as amphibians. So amphibians means examples are frog, crocodile, like that. Okay, so this type of organisms were formed. They also died and buried and formed a new rock over there, and the population which were alive, they developed into the new species of reptiles and dinosaurs, and these also died and get compressed into the rock, and afterwards the new species developed like apes, mammals, and these also got buried, died and got buried into the compressed rocks. Okay, so I will draw the structure also of that. So if this is a seabed and this is an invertebrates, these are the invertebrate rocks. Over here another rock formed which were of amphibians. After this reptiles and dinosaurs. After this, above this, apes, mammals, etc. Okay, these are the rocks formed one upon one layers. Okay, this layers is called strata. Okay, what is this layer called? Whole layer of rock, this in between the layers, this is called strata. Okay, this is called strata, and the rocks which are formed is known as sedimentary rocks. Okay, these are sedimentary rocks. These are sedimentary rocks. Okay, so this is a older one. What is this? This is a older one. This are the newer, younger ones. Okay, so if this is a A is younger than, A is older than B, B is older than C, and C is older than D. Okay, so this is a bottom which is very old rock, and this one is topmost layer which is known as the new rock. Okay, so this structure is a very time consuming, means it is a very gradual and slow process was there. So it has divided into 3 eras also. This era was known as Paleozoic era, which was 540 million years ago. This era was Mesozoic era, which was 280 million years ago, and this topmost was Cenozoic era, which was 65 million years ago. So by seeing the digits we can understand this was the oldest one and this was the newest one. What is Paleozoic, Mesozoic and Cenozoic? These means old life, middle life and new life. Okay, so this was the structure, and if some natural calamity like erosion of rock or any of the researchers that can research, they do the extraction of fossils from this rock to study the age of the any of this organism. Okay, so this was the formation of fossil. This type of is known as fossil formation. Okay, students, so you will have one question also in your mind, that how these digits came. 540, 280, 65, how this million years ago, how these digits came. What is the formula for that? For doing this ages. Okay, so this process is known as carbon dating. Okay, so we will study now the process of carbon dating. Carbon dating means C14, which is the process to determine the date of material such as rock or carbon. It was proposed by Willard Libby. Okay, he had got Nobel Prize also for this carbon dating and radioactivity. Radioactivity processes. Okay, so I have told you carbon dating is a process where it determines the date of rock or carbon. Okay, rock or carbon. So we have just now took that example of rock, how the rocks are formed. Okay, so this rock formed can be dated by carbon dating. Okay, and the carbon, how it is dated, this also I have an example. If there is volcanic eruption, okay, in one area there is a volcanic eruption, slowly the volcano cools down after many years. Okay, so when it cools, the volcano has become the ash. It is known as volcanic ash. So the volcanic ash contains carbon, so it can be dated. Okay, So this was the example of carbon, how carbon is formed by this process. Okay. Now, also I have another example of how the carbon is formed, okay, in our day-to-day life. So if the cosmic radiations collide with neutron, okay, if the cosmic radiations, these are the cosmic radiations which are collide with neutron, okay, so this neutron is then absorbed by nitrogen. Okay, neutron is absorbed by nitrogen. This process is done above the atmospheric level. Okay, and these radiations are very high energy radiations. Okay, so they collide with the neutron and the neutrons are then absorbed by nitrogen and they are converted into carbon. Okay, this carbon then comes to atmosphere. Okay, they get connected with atmosphere, and you know that in atmosphere there is oxygen, so it reacts with oxygen. This carbon reacts with oxygen and carbon dioxide is formed. Okay, so this carbon dioxide is very important for atmosphere because it is an essential byproduct for photosynthesis of plants. So plants absorb CO2 in the atmosphere. Okay. Then naturally the animals which are grazing, which are eating plants, these animals also consume carbon by carbon dioxide. Animals consume carbon by eating plants. Okay, so this process of carbon consumption in animals is done by this process. Okay, so afterwards what happened? Animal dies and decays in soil. Okay, these animals decay in the soil. Okay, so this can be dated because of carbon content in the animals. And when the animal dies, the carbon content becomes reduced. Okay, it decreases and it converts again into N14. Okay, so this process is known as carbon dating process. Okay, so you understood how the carbon is consumed by the animals. Okay, so how the carbon is consumed by the animals you have just studied now. Now we have to see that the older one, means the animal which dies earlier, has less carbon content, and the younger animal which has died newly, it has the more amount of carbon. So this type we can calculate the carbon content in the animals, okay, in the animal body, and we can find out the we can calculate the carbon dating. Okay, so the radioactivity of carbon or the isotopes of carbon which are formed when the atmospheric oxygen mixes with the carbon. At that time, isotopes are also formed, that is C12, C13. They are also formed by that process. Okay, so this C12 and C14 are the ratio of C12 and C14. This is the calculation of the carbon dating. So the radioactivity of C14 and the ratio of C14 and C12 and C14. By this calculation, the carbon dating or the age of the fossil is determined. Okay, students. So by this process also we can prove that the invertebrates are the ancestors, the originators of vertebrates. Okay, students. So thank you for watching.